Welcome to Devlog 9 for Project 2, a dark fantasy VR game we're making here at Alta. This week's devlog is going to be focused on shrines, which are a new addition to the game, but rather than me telling you about them, I've asked Calvin from the gameplay team to give you all a deep dive into the development of shrines, and then I'll come back and show off shrines in-game for you all to see.
Hello, my name is Calvin, and I'm one of the gameplay designers currently working on Alta's Project 2. Today I want to dive into a little bit of the behind the scenes of the buff shrines that we are currently working on adding to the game. The buff shrines are an interactable object that will exist within the level that players can charge up, and when they finish charging them, they will grant the player a temporary bonus to their stats for a short duration. The base is a triplanar texture that has an emissive on top of it that has this nice sort of like flowing effect on it, and the two particle systems are a simple way for us to inform the player of when the shrine is charging and when the shrine finishes charging. So this effect is the shrine charging, and it's this slow build up to inform the player that their interaction is having some effect and that the shrine is building towards something. And then we have the effect that plays when the shrine is actually charged to inform the players that they've finished charging it and they now have the bonus the shrine can provide. And as an added component of that as well, the emissive texture that exists on the base disappears when the shrine provides buff and then is moved to the spent state where it can no longer be interacted with, to inform players that the shrine cannot be interacted with any longer. First thing that I will talk about is this texture on the base. It's a pretty straightforward system. We've just set up a triplanar texture with a scrolling emissive. This is all pretty standard stuff. The only semi-unusual thing we've done is we've taken time and then also the sign of time and added them together, which creates this feeling of ebb and flow as the texture will scroll faster and slower based on what the sign of time is, which gives it a much less uniform feeling movement. It makes it feel more organic. And you can kind of, it's a little bit difficult to see, but you can kind of see the scrolling of this texture speeding up and slowing down over time. The second component that I want to talk briefly about is the particle systems. The systems themselves are reasonably simple. They tend to have between 3 and 5 particle systems, and they are usually made up of particles with rather simple movement parameters that just have trails behind them to give them the look that they've got. So this one in particular has 3 components. There is spawns particles that will orbit the location that the player's hand is at. There is a component that will pull particles towards the player's hand interaction location, and there is a particle that actually will spawn on the interaction point with a building light that informs the player that they are charging the shrine. The last component is that around the edges of the shrine itself, along the ground, particles will begin to orbit the shrine itself. And the other particle system that plays when the shrine finishes charging is only a couple of components. We've got this component, which is a torus of particles that spawn around the shrine, are given an upwards velocity that dampens over time and then are sucked towards the center of the shrine. There is a simple particle pulling system that just spawns particles around in a sphere and pulls them towards the center. There is a light and particle that indicates a charging within the sphere itself. And finally, there are 2 systems associated with the blast at the end that produce both a light and a number of particles that are then shot out in every direction. And that's about it. The particle systems are pretty simple and straightforward, and the emissive is also a rather simple system behind the scenes, but when put together, they make a rather nice, cohesive whole that I think does a rather good job of informing players of what the shrine's current status are and what they do.
Thanks so much for that deep dive on shrines, Calvin. I'm in game right now in front of one of the healing shrines, and you can see that my health is fairly low, and if I hold my hand out and wait a little while, as we're surrounded by these cool effects and particles that Calvin just showcased, there we go, we got some health back. These shrines are the initial implementation of this feature, but you'll see them popping up in footage a lot more in these devlogs, as there are a variety of them in-game already, with a number of different buffs that they grant you. In the future, the way you interact with shrines will probably change, along with how they look and what sorts of buffs they may give. But it's always fun to see the initial form of something, and we can all watch it evolve as development progresses through these devlogs. And that's it for this week, but we'd love to know what you think to shrines down in the comments below, and also what do you think to these deeper dives into different development features like this week's devlog. And of course, if you liked what you saw in this week's devlog, please like the video, it will help others get to see these too, and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with these devlogs every week. We also have a Discord server for Project 2, you can join via the link on the screen, or click the link in the description and let us know what you think to what we've shown of the game so far, and chat to others watching the game develop too. Thanks again for watching this week's devlog for Project 2, and see you all in the next one.